We bid you a pleasant March 7th. Good evening, everybody. It is basketball state championship time, at least on the girls' side, and boys' regional time. We're down to a Sweet 16 in the boys, 4 regionals throughout the state. We're here to talk about it. We, of course, have plenty of teams still in it. We have a guest tonight, a coach of a team who is still in it. Proctorville Fairland's Nathan Speed will join us. I'm Bruce Hooley, Sonny Folks alongside. Hello, Mr. Folks.
Evening to you, Mr. Hooley, and it was an interesting weekend of basketball. We certainly saw some regional finals action at Vandalia Butler in Division 4.
Yeah,
and then, of course, district action with some exciting district action at that, with boys in the area here up and down I-75 in Division 4 as well. So I think this is going to be one of the next 2 weeks are going to be certainly two of our best weeks of the year. And magnified by the fact that you've got teams like New Knoxville girls involved, the Botkins boys, Marion Local playing tomorrow night in a regional semifinal, as well as Botkins and Tri-Village. So, there's a lot of local interest. And, we're going to have Nate Speed on here in a few minutes, who at Fairland High School down in Lawrence County, where I grew up. And everybody used to say that nothing gets done down there during tournament season because everybody goes to the games, and that's where the biggest crops are raised, and even revival meetings down there take a back seat to tournament basketball. So I'm looking forward to talking to Nate.
No doubt about it. And we have a team in each division in the girls tournament, which starts on Thursday at the University of Dayton Arena, second year of 3 for the boys and girls tournaments to be at UD Arena. In Division 4, New Knoxville trying to double up. They won the volleyball. Many of the same girls play for Tim Hagemeyer in his final year with New Knoxville, trying to win a state. They will take on Cincinnati Country Day at noon on Friday in the Division 4 semifinals. Division 3, Worthington Christian is the team that Press Pros covers. The Warriors got it done in overtime against Ottawa Glandorf in the regional finals and needed a 3-point shot at the end of regulation to send that game to overtime. They take on Apple Creek Waynedale on Thursday at 2 p.m. In Division 2, the Hartley Hawks, they've been living by divine intervention. They won in overtime in the district final. They won in double overtime in the regional semifinal. And then they took care of Mason. I believe it was Shelby. They took care of the Whippets. They whipped them aside in the regional final. So Tom Brandewie, the former Fort Loramie great, his daughter Ella Brandewie is what, in my opinion, sets Hartley apart. They are a team that certainly can win. Anybody with an athletic 6'3" center, and Ella is certainly that, can win it. They play on Thursday night at 8 o'clock in their semifinal. And then in Division 1, Reynoldsburg, a super team with, I think, 3 Division 1 recruits. They take on Anthony Wayne, 22-5 at 8 o'clock on the 11th. As Sonny mentioned, we've got – go ahead.
In case I forget to mention this at the end of the show tonight, a shout out to all the people in Central Ohio who have been reading our coverage, Steve Blackledge's coverage of the OCC, of the Columbus Catholic schools, has just been off the charts. We couldn't appreciate that more. I'm a little bit surprised because this is only our second year doing it, but we're picking up a lot of momentum there and a lot of people who certainly are appreciative of the coverage and the way we write it and the way we show it and do everything. And Blackie and John Hulkenberg deserve a lot of, and Brian Bayless deserve a lot of credit for that there, as well as you, because you're the guy sitting in that seat right there where you're sitting. But that's growing. We appreciate it, and we are delighted to bring that kind of coverage this week from the state tournament girls to people in Central Ohio.
And as well as Wednesday night, Ohio Dominican University will be absolutely jammed to the gills on Wednesday night for the boys regional semifinals. And we have 3 of the top 5 teams in the final Division I state poll playing in the regional semifinals on Wednesday night. We've got number 2 Gahanna taking on number 3 Westerville South in one semifinal. That is a state championship caliber game. And Pickerington Central, it's Pickerington North. I'm sorry, it's Pickerington North taking on Upper Arlington in the other semifinal, and Pick North is number 5 in the state. So really tremendous basketball in Central Ohio. The Division I regional semis are going to be crazy. Blackie and John Hulkenberg will be all over it. And, of course, we'll be covering the Saturday night regional final as well. We have, as Sonny said, 3 teams in action tomorrow night. Trent Arena in Kettering, Botkins, Tri-Village. They've seemed on a collision course for a regional final matchup ever since they met back in, I think that was Flying to the Hoop, 51-50 Botkins in overtime. They play in semifinals. Botkins 24-2, number 1 in the state, takes on number 6 in the state, Springfield Catholic, also 24-2. Tri-Village, number 5 in the state, 21-3, takes on East Knox. A bit of a surprise at 20-6. That is, I said, at Trent Arena in Kettering. And then Sonny mentioned Bowling Green, the home of the Falcons, will play host to Marion Local. The Flyers are 21-4, and they take on Antwerp, which got a first place vote in the final Division 4 state poll. Antwerp is 24-1. So we'll see if Kurt Gedemiller's defense and the tenacity of Marion Local, combined with Jack Kanapke, the 6'8 presence, the big sophomore inside. We'll see if Marion Local can get another victory and continue their postseason run. They entered the postseason a 4 seed, but we always thought they were underseeded.
I was in Marion Local twice today, or at least Maria Stein twice today, and people were somebody asked me today, what are their chances? Do I think they're worthy, good enough to get through? Well, could they get to the finals? Could they get to the Final Four like they do in 2018? I don't know if they're the best team. I don't know if they're the best team in the final 16. I really don't, or the final however many is left.
16 left, yeah.
I don't know if they're the best team. I do know this. They're the team that I'd least like to play.
Yeah.
I think they're a dangerous team because they have enough talent, they got enough size, and that competitive instinct with which they play. And they can play more than 5. I mean, if they can bring 3 off the bench. And, they all play hard physical defense. I don't know if Marion Local's the best team. I'm not sure. And I think Kurt Gedemiller might give you the same answer. But nobody will play harder in the regional round of the tournament, regional round of the tournament than what they will. And I don't know what to expect when I go up. You and I were talking about Antwerp being very talented and a good record, 24-1, something like that, going into tomorrow night. I'm not sure they've seen a team that plays like Marion Local. I'm very interested to see how that turns out.
Well, I think you're right. I think it is their ability to make teams uncomfortable, and they do that with defense, and they play very physical, and they just grind on you. And I'm sure that is a quality that our next guest would love to have his team display in its regional semifinal against Africentric, which is a super talented team. And our guest is Coach Nathan Speed of Proctorville Fairland. And Nate, congratulations on getting your team into the regional semis at OU. And Africentric is one of those programs that's had a lot of success in the postseason. Tell me what you see when you look at them on tape and what kind of challenges in front of your team.
Oh, very talented. They're good at creating turnovers, size matchup problems for us, all across the board. We definitely have to take care of the ball. We can't turn it over, let them get out and transition. We got to be physical. We got to be the ones that initiate, that contact. We've got to box out, be strong with the basketball and make shots when we get those opportunities.
Nate, I think you look younger than the last time I saw you. I don't know. I think it is. It might be the beard. Yes, you have that certain Sean Connery look.
I don't know about that. It's gotten a little bit more gray. I'm actually only 28 years old, but when you get into coaching, this is what happens to you. You know what I mean? This is what you look like at 28.
I was telling Bruce, who does not have knowledge of Lawrence County and does not have knowledge of Proctorville, but I grew up down there, so just outside of Chesapeake. So yeah. I'm delighted to have this opportunity. And I know there's people in Jackson tonight and Wheelersburg and Gallipolis and all up and down the river watching the Monday huddle. And, once again, I always look to see this time of year if Fairland is still in the tournament after every round, because I just told Bruce, and you may have heard this sitting, off camera. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, they used to say that even revival meetings and fox hunting took a backseat to tournament basketball in Lawrence County. Oh, yeah. And I know you grew up with that, and I know you've been around that there in that community for a long time. It is a special time.
Oh, definitely. You hear the stories, the Untouchables and those stories. And just when we started going, to the Convo to play, as kids when I was in school and before that, tournament time is just, really something special. And we try to, explain that to our kids and the tradition of, being able to go there and play and just entering a tournament and how excited, our community gets for it.
It's almost a shame, and I know there's people in Ironton tonight or Chesapeake or people down there listening, and they're nodding their head. Well, we know, but it's almost a shame that the kids that play for you now have never had any firsthand experience with Carl York and the Burchams and the Joe Hineses and the guys that played down there at that time. Junior Waldo was a member of that team, and back in 1961. It's almost a shame that has to be passed down, and you never got a firsthand view or experience of seeing the untouchables, is what Carl's teams were called, play at that time and during that period.
Oh yeah, just you hear stories, and you have to pass along those stories. But no, I wish that our kids on our team could have got to see that team play, and just how good they were, and that they talk about the ball movement and just how quickly they played at the pace that they played at, for that time period was just unheard of.
And, short of the Waterloo Wonders, and you and I talked about this earlier today, I don't know of any other team out of that area that is more noted for tournament basketball. They played in the 30s. You guys, Carl's teams hit their stride there in the mid-60s and the 70s. Those two teams are synonymous with tournament basketball success in southeastern Ohio.
Oh yeah, written books about them, and with those two teams, they talked about it. I've even heard some of those old timers talk about the matchup, what would have been between those two teams, and breaking stuff down and who's guarding who and what happens, and the outcome of that game.
Nate Speed, I got to ask you about your district semifinal. I'm looking at your score on the bracket. 60-58 in triple overtime. Sonny was remarking about how young you look. I see a few gray hairs in that beard. How many gray hairs are on account of that triple overtime game in the district semis?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we prepared for that this season. We must have had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think throughout the season we've been in about 5 or 6 overtimes games. I think we had one double or two double, one single, and another double. I don't know. We've had quite a few overtime games this year, and that game was a game, especially in the tournament. It was so intense. And one of my assistants looked over and he said, "Hey, what overtime are we even in right now?" I said, "I have no clue."
Well, that's pretty special. Did you hang on to win it, or did you have to make a shot to extend one of the regulation or the overtimes, or just take it how you want it?
Yeah, we had to hit a shot to put it into overtime. We hit a 3 to put it into overtime. Then we hit a 3 to put it in the second overtime, and then we hit a 3 to put it in the third overtime. And then finally, towards the end, we pulled away. We had 3 different kids. Aiden Porter, I think, hit the shot to go into overtime. Brody Buchanan, a freshman, came in off the bench, hit a 3 to set it in the second overtime. And then Chase Allen, a sophomore, sent it in third overtime with a 3.
Needless to say, all of those kids are going to letter this year, won't they?
Yeah, they're all right in my book.
Nate Speed, the coach at Fairland High School down in Proctorville, Ohio, on Route 7, is our guest tonight on the Monday show. I want you to take a minute and talk a little bit. I know coaches around the state of Ohio, and I know you play so much, and you in the summer with you see other programs. And I wonder maybe if you would just give an overview of what you think of the quality of high school basketball that you've seen this year in Ohio high school basketball.
Yeah, I think it's in good shape. It's very competitive. And I think the one thing that's changed so much recently is just the travel, that you're able to do and, go out and go to camps or go out and play, in holiday tournaments and travel quite a bit and see different opponents. And, the kids all know each other from AAU. So I think, it leads to, more competition, kids playing harder, quality games. I think you still see, I think, there was a time where you went from a shift from fundamentals to just athleticism, but now I think it's kind of coming back where those fundamentals are catching up with that, just not just, being athletic with kids that are, working on both.
Since you mentioned that, I wanted to ask, because if you ask the old time coaches, They say today that kids don't get to play enough to get the fundamentals down. I saw a team lose a basketball game the other night because they were 12 of 31 from the free throw line. They lost by 10 points. So the newer generation says they like it. They like the physical style, the athletic style of play, kids knocking and banging and bodies flying. They like that. I'm asking the question because of the competition for the same kids in a school like Fairland or Chesapeake or Rock Hill or Ironton between sports and seasons. Do kids get to play enough fundamentally sound basketball?
Yeah, I think so. I think it comes to that goes back in a lot of work in your off season. We do have a lot of athletes that play at least 2 sports or 3 sports. So you kind of have to balance that in the summer and in the off season and out of those athletes' season as well. But you have to work on, that's part of what you have to do as a coach. You have to develop that plan of, this is our set time. We've got to work on this fundamentally. Now we've got to go get in the weight room. Now we've got to, you have to balance all those things to keep those fundamentals, that shooting, foul shooting, good passing, just being able to play the game, understanding the game, cuts, proper spacing, things like that. That has to be taught and gone over quite a bit.
Nathan Speed, the head coach at Proctorville Fairland, our guest. They play Africentric regional semifinals Wednesday night at the Convocation Center on the campus at Ohio University. And Nate, when you're scouting Africentric, I'm going to assume that Dalen Swain jumps out on tape. I've not seen him, but I've read plenty about him. Ohio State has offered him a 6'7" kid. Have you seen that kind of size? Will that be an adjustment for you? Is he a guy who does his work in the post? Does he range out onto the perimeter? What kind of challenge does he present for your team?
Well, he can score on all 3 levels. He's going to be very tough to defend. I think just the whole package, especially, with his strength as well. He's very quick from point A to B and just being able to attack the paint quickly, get to the paint quickly, and then, just Euro step or, just slice through defenders. We're going to have to pinch in, help a lot defensively, make sure we're not, letting him get uncontested into the paint, pick up quicker. He's a good shooter too, can create off the dribble, kick out. So, he's going to present a lot of problems for us defensively.
Isn't the Euro step, which you just mentioned, what we used to call traveling?
So much for that fundamental talk, right? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of changed quite a bit with the fundamentals too. I guess maybe you have to put that in that fundamental category now because everybody's trying to do it, I guess.
Well,
I think it was just plain walking till LeBron showed up.
Yeah, probably so. I wouldn't disagree with you.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed. I sound like get off my lawn guy when I talk about palming the basketball. They don't call it basketball anymore. That's pretty common at all levels right now, and it drives me crazy because it does give the dribbler a big advantage. But what will be the main challenge for you, Nate? We talked about some of those fundamental things. I mean, you're never wrong if you make your free throws, take care of the basketball. Africentric's a team that has always created a lot of turnovers, likes to get up and down, likes to pressure you, get the pace where they want it. Is that a pace you like to play? And
no, we've got to control the tempo. We've got to, slow down. As they speed up their defense and come at us, we've got to slow down, be fundamental, see the floor, make the right play, not allow them get in transition. Once we get in the half court, we've got to take quality shots. We don't want to take contested or forced shots or, long threes that can lead to long rebounds for them to run out and get into transition.
Well, we certainly wish you well on Wednesday night. It's a big challenge, but you had a great year, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us here. And I'm sure that your community is behind you, and there's nothing like a community that's behind its school team as you go through the postseason.
Yes,
Bruce, before we get off, I want to give Nate the opportunity to talk about I mentioned growing up down there and a lot of names and familiar people in the
That's a bad time for his internet to cut out, Nate.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
You know where he was going right there? If you do, feel free to jump right in.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's going to go to Lavina Church, a school teacher, and she also taught Sunday school, at our church. And man, she was strict. You know, we would come in. There he is. Are you back?
Sonny, are you back? I see him moving, but I don't hear him talking.
Well, I got bounced off for a second, but I'm back on here now. And Nate, I was going to ask you to talk about some of the other schools up and down those communities down there along the river that you played this year. That, you know, the Chesapeakes and the Irontons and the Wheelersburg and people like that, and the quality of basketball up and down. And again, going back to the culture of a river basketball, just what that's like for you on a yearly basis.
Well, I went into the Levana Church school teacher and strict thing, Sonny. I thought that's where you're going for. You got cut off, but no, I think, you know, our rival, you know, obviously is Chesapeake each year. That's always, you know, a good, entertaining game. We have to be well prepared. They're very well coached. You know, I think basketball here is more physical. You know, it's when you get into your conference and you're playing, you know, your Ironton, Portsmouth, you know, Gallipolis in the conference, you know, Colegrove, South Point, Rock Hill. You know, those teams are used to playing each other. Those kids know each other well. It can be, you know, pretty physical. So you've got to be tough physically, and you've got to be mentally tough to make it through our conference with, you know, the great players and coaches they have down here.
Hey, if you see Timmy Stevens tomorrow night with the Herald Dispatch, give him my best.
I sure will. Absolutely.
Nate, thanks so
Nate,
much.
great to have you with us. Great to see you.
Yes, thank you, guys. Appreciate it a lot.
Good luck on Wednesday night, Coach.
Thank you.
There you go. Nate Speed,
Go Dragons.
head coach, I think his 15th year at Fairland. Great job. And love to see them win on Wednesday night. Love to see them in Dayton next weekend, representing their regional in the Division III tournament. So, Mr. Folks, you may have sparked a little interest online with your account of the Tri-Village girls loss to Cincinnati Country Day. You and I have had many conversations off the Huddle Show about the differing ways that games are called in the tournament, not just from one game to another, but from one half to another. I saw a game, Marion Local and St. Henry, with 3 officials, where one of the officials blew his whistle exactly one time in the first half, and the other official did not blow his whistle at all. And the other official blew his whistle all the time. Your thoughts on high school officiating, and I guess I'm more interested to know on what kind of response you've gotten from people in the aftermath of that column about the Tri-Village Cincinnati Country Day game.
My feelings about officiating go back to the time when I officiated, and I worked high school basketball back in the late 70s and the early 80s in the Columbus City League. Worked with some good veteran officials, a couple of which went on to work Big Ten basketball for years from there in Central Ohio. And the one thing that I learned from those guys back then was, hey, call something that makes sense. If it's contact that obviously impairs a player from scoring or getting to the rim or making a pass, or what they call today advantage, disadvantage, by all means, call it, and call it early in the game. Don't call it late in the game. Call it early in the game so you don't have to call it late in the game. So that part of it, I don't think has always been a fundamental that good officiating is built upon. What irked me about the game I saw the other day at Tri-Village is I haven't seen in 2 years a lane violation called on a free throw. There was a younger official who I didn't know. I didn't know any of the 3 officials who worked that game the other day between Cincinnati Country Day and Tri-Village, but there was one of the officials that called a lane violation not once but twice during that game. One of them happened at the other end of the court from where I was sitting. One happened in front of me. And to me, unless nobody jumped out and tried to box out the shooter, early, and he may have his foot on the line, but they called that as a lane violation. I don't know I don't know what that is in terms of officiating, except to say, I want to be recognized, or you'll remember me for having made that call. Nobody wants to remember you for having made a call. And in the first half, it was very tightly called, to the fact of the Cincinnati Country Day people were up in arms about how many fouls they were accumulating. In the second half, the same play, the same amount of contact, there was no calls. And you can see a couple of examples of photos that we ran in our game story where Tri-Village players got pretty hammered, trying to move the ball up the court or try to get to the rim, and there was no call. And one of the officials said it's just good, hard basketball. Well, I don't know if the kids understand when you call it one way in the first half and a different way in the second half, what good, hard basketball is. We say we do all this for the sake of the kids, and I agree. And it's a wonderful experience. It's a formative experience. But I hate it sometimes when what seems to make sense from an official standpoint, because nobody understands what is sense when it doesn't get called. And when people are sitting up there in the stands, they get a case of the goo-goo because here's somebody that gets hammered on the way to the rim, and the officials, raise their hand, get up, play on, play on. It happens every year. You wrote about it last year in the state tournament with Worthington Christian. We see it almost every night in the tournament, and they swear, Bruce, it's never called the same. I know many veteran officials who used to look at me and say, Sonny, we call it exactly the same in January and March. But I don't think anybody really believes that. I don't think they do. And the other day to me was a very poignant example. And I got no axe to grind one way or the other. I don't care who wins those games. Yeah. We're there to cover it, to write a good story. But seriously, you're going to call 2 lane violations in a regional final game. And neither time did I see somebody jump out early and try to box out the shooter. That kind of stuff doesn't make sense.
Well, I think my beef is not just in high schools, but it's in college too. And that is what we've allowed basketball to become. We allow so much physical contact on defense of far distance from the basket. And to me, a foul is a physical contact that gives an advantage to the person initiating the physical contact. And I watch Big Ten guys in the post just bang and bang and bang on each other to gain position. I like that they've had the flop call now, because that pretty much takes Indiana's post defense away that they've used over the years, where you just fall down and get the call. But to me, this body contact out front that's allowed to happen that keeps dribblers from going where they're going and where they have a right to go is an aspect of the game that they could certainly clean up, not just at the college level, particularly at the high school level. And I hate it that there are teams, and whoever it was that played Worthington Christian last year, I forget who it was in the state championship game. Was it Lutheran East? Was it Richmond High? I mean, they foul you all over the floor. I mean, to me, that's like Georgetown defense from the John Thompson era. I'm going to foul you 50 times in this game. You don't have the guts to call it 50 times. We're going to get away with 25 of them. And out of those 25 fouls we get away with, we're going to get an advantage 10 to 15 of those times. And it's an equation that the coaches are perfect. If they have a deep team, they're perfectly willing to take. And I just think that it rewards not good defense. It rewards behavior that the game of basketball, I don't believe, was created to reward. I think the game of basketball is artistry and movement and beauty and all those things. And I don't want to see it reduced to football without pads or rugby. And so that for me is my hang up with basketball. Is the skill of basketball is being able to dribble the basketball without palming it and get where you want to go. If you can handle the basketball and initiate movement and create advantages, passing lanes, driving to the basket, whatever, somebody who can stop you from doing that by bumping you should not get an advantage, because you have a skill. It doesn't take any skill to bump somebody. So that's what I think we need to clean up in the game of basketball at all levels.
Well, every year there's some point of emphasis. I've heard point of emphasis until, it turns your hair gray every year. And about 5 years ago, and you mentioned the fact of hand checking and steering a ball handler. Look at the picture of Riley Sagaster in Saturday's game story, and you can see that girl from because Riley was quicker than that girl from Cincinnati Country Day. She got by a second defender, and you can see that girl reaching with her hand and shoving her toward the sideline, shoving her off her dribble.
Right.
And that doesn't get called. Now, every year there's a point of emphasis, and I remember that a few years ago that they called that for the month of December and maybe the first month of January. When it got into conference play and the rubber hit the road, you didn't see a lot of that call being made. It was back to business as usual. But you make a very good point. This is filtered down from the old NBA, and now actually they say the NBA now is so soft it doesn't even resemble the Bill Laimbeer days. You know, when the Pistons were known to be
Jordan
such
rules.
a physical team. Yeah, or the old Knick teams with Oakley and those guys Charles Oakley that played for them. But it gets passed down from there to college, and it makes you turn inside out to go to a Big Ten game, sit on the floor, and watch what happens underneath the hoop. You don't see a lot of that on TV.
No.
But if you sit 15 or 20 feet away from it and see what goes on under the rim, and I understand they could call 60 fouls a night if they wanted to, but I don't think they would if they called a few fouls in the first quarter, got a few guys with 2 and 3 fouls and said, we're going to clean this up and we will make it a game of skill again. And it's just been passed down to the high school and AAU levels. Somebody told me here, I was talking about this with a veteran coach about a month ago, and he said, I don't know why they even have officials in AAU basketball. He said, or why they would have 2 whistles, because one whistle would be enough for the both of them. Because he said it is literally a track meet up and down the court, bumping, banging, bodies flying. You penetrate the rim, somebody flies out to the left, the ball goes out the other side, somebody makes a jump shot, take it out of bounds, and race to the other end of the court. So this is what basketball has become. People don't understand it. The kids don't understand it. And to what you just said, I hate to see that go away. I remember, like Nate and I were talking about in the 60s and the 70s when it was a shooter's game.
Yeah.
You ran beautiful offense. It was wonderful to see how you set the screens and the screener and all that, and to create the jump shot for some kid who had the skill to stand at 18 feet and just knock down shots every night. And, we're getting away from that. It is literally now, as you said, football without pads.
Yeah, and I do think you're right. If you call that early in the game, I think it sets a tone and guys understand that, I'm going to be on the bench watching this if I don't start to play by what's going to be allowed on this particular night. All right, we've gone through our matchups. We have a busy night tomorrow night. You'll be on Marion Local. I'll be on Botkins against Springfield Catholic Central, Tri-Village against East Knox. Wednesday night, Blackie will have the mammoth Division I regional semis in Columbus with 3 of the top 5 D1 teams in the state playing at ODU. We will be all over Thursday, the Worthington Christian semifinal, 2 p.m. against Waynedale. We will, of course, have New Knoxville covered on Friday at noon in its semifinal against Cincinnati Country Day. Hartley plays on Thursday night at 8 o'clock. Reynoldsburg will be in action on Friday night at 8 o'clock. We've got our D1 regional finals coming up. I'm not even sure because I'm taking them one game at a time, Sonny, when Botkins and Tri-Village would play. I assume that game is Saturday.
That would be Saturday, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I can check it for you here.
I don't have the schedule right here in front of me, but
well, I've got it, and I will look at that. Do you have anything you want to mention from our Reader Speaks column, or have we run a Reader Speaks where we've had something that's worth tackling?
I just actually got a text. You heard my phone go off there. He wanted to know if Berlin Highland was still, and that's up in Layman's territory.
Yes, sir.
Up in Wayne County, I think.
Well,
if they're still in the tournament,
up in that territory, we know, and I do believe Highland is still in it. We are correct. It's on the 11th at 7 p.m. at Trent Arena. That is the regional final that we think will feature Tri-Village and Botkins. That would be wonderful from our perspective. And if Marion Local is to make its regional final, it would play on Saturday night as well at Bowling Green. I hear your texting device going off as I speak.
Yeah. It's just people wanting to know who's still in. How do you know where the brackets are? You go to ohsaa.org, www.ohsaa.org. Click on state tournament coverage, and it's got all the brackets. You got to go through a couple of different clicks on the URLs there. But you follow those through, and it'll take you right to the regional matchups and the state tournament matchups this weekend for the girls. And you can find all that information out right there. OHSAA.org.
I want to remind you to follow us on Instagram. Press Pros Magazine is what you search. Facebook, of course, the same. Our Twitter site is at Press Pros Mag. Sonny mentioned Layman's. We gave away our $50 Layman's February gift card today to a gentleman from Covington, Ohio, and it was not Sonny Folks. It was somebody else. And you can get in to win the $50 monthly Layman's gift card giveaway by sending your entry to pressproscontest@gmail.com. pressproscontest@gmail.com. Some of the fine products from Layman's include the Amish-made natural peanut butter mixer. You don't want to mess up your peanut butter all over the counter trying to stir it with a knife. You screw the lid on, you twist the stainless steel rod around, you mix your natural peanut butter. It tastes phenomenal. The Para Hatchet, another great item from Layman's Hardware and Old Time General Store, under $20, particularly when you use the promo code PressPros10 when you order online. And Layman's is located in Kidron, Ohio, 4 miles south of Route 30, always open 24/7, 365 at lehmans.com, layman's.com, and tell them you're a Press Pros reader by using that promo code PressPros10. We want to thank all of you who have joined us online on our social media channels tonight to watch the show. Debbie says, great show, guys. Really appreciate all your hard work. Truman, go to bed. And Scott says the D1 Columbus matchups in the regional semifinals should be outstanding. Can't wait to cover the games. Indeed, Steve Blackwood's John Hulkenberg will be on that. And we may have a little bit of a different lineup on Saturday, as I believe Mr. Hulkenberg is spoken for on Saturday, but we will find somebody to shoot that one, and we will have it for you on the pages of PressProsMagazine.com. Mr. Folks has made it back to bid us all a fond farewell, and we will see you out and about at the games tomorrow night.
All right. Can't wait to get there and see it.
Very good. Thank you all for joining us. Catch the replay. Tell your friends about PressProsMagazine.com. Great place to follow high school basketball, college basketball. We didn't get to Ohio State, but hey, I mean, they lost to Michigan in the season finale on senior day. They're in the Big Ten tournament Thursday night, final game of the night. They'll take on the Minnesota Penn State winner. And OSU baseball, Mr. Folks?
But the good news is the Ohio State Buckeyes baseball team snapped the losing streak over the weekend. They beat Army yesterday 12-7. So they're starting with a fresh start next weekend over in Morgantown. So nothing but up from here on. That was a tough stretch of games for them. But they did win against Army yesterday down in the Military Classic in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Fantastic. We are your site for Ohio State baseball as well. UD basketball, Ohio State basketball, and we will cover every single championship game from the girls tournament and the boys tournament, and we'll have our local teams and Columbus teams covered in the regionals. Thanks for joining us.